Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing some longer-term technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets, because over the last week or so, I've been talking about a potential scenario of Bitcoin falling below this uptrend of support, also breaking the 200 weekly moving average, which is right around here somewhere, falling below those two and starting to head towards $3,000 and perhaps levels lower than that. We're looking at a very bearish scenario right now. We're looking at a pretty decent chance that Bitcoin falls below some very important levels of support and breaks some key market structure. If that happens, it would be very, very bad for Bitcoin. So don't think I'm clickbaiting you when I say that Bitcoin is actually in a lot of danger right now. I'm going to be laying out exactly why that is in today's video, in one concise video where I can go ahead and put all of the information together. And then at the end of the video, we'll talk about the percentage likelihood that I think this scenario is going to play out. One thing I want to mention here at the beginning of the video is that even though this is a very bearish scenario, and even though I do think that there's a decent chance that this scenario does come to fruition, this is not necessarily the scenario that I think is most likely. A lot of people get those two things confused. They see me discuss a scenario, and then they think that's what I think is going to happen. That's not necessarily the case. We'll talk about that later on in the video. Before we get into today's video, guys, there is one more thing that I want to mention, and that is that another video for the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy has gone out today, just as I promised. This time it's a video on short versus long-term technical analysis, because as you guys know, there is a very big difference between the type of technical analysis you do on the short term and the type of technical analysis you do on the long term. These are two very distinct fields of technical analysis. They have a lot to do with each other, of course, but they have a lot of dissimilarities that I cover in this video. I think I did a pretty good job on this video. It's about a 17 minute long video. I'm very happy with this, and it is now live in the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy for all of our old and new members. We had a lot of people join yesterday using that discount code in the description down below. So if you've been thinking about joining CT2A, or you haven't even thought about it ever, but you want to learn how to do technical analysis, I do highly recommend our program down here. Of course, like I said in yesterday's video, I think we have a very fair, no questions asked refund policy, and we've never had a single person refund the course. How crazy is that? I'm really happy about that. Everybody seems to be very happy with it. Anyway, guys, we'll talk about that more at the end of the video, but without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into it after a semi-long intro. Of course, you guys know there is a promotion running for CT2A this week. Of course, next week there isn't going to be that little block at the beginning of the video anymore. But anyway, let's go ahead and get right on into it. Bitcoin is currently trading around $3,863 here on Coinbase. Now, one thing I want to mention at the outset of the video is, for some reason, my chart has been lagging a lot this morning. I think that's on TradingView's side, not my internet side. So we're going to do all our TA down here on the hourly chart. Then we're going to move out to the daily chart and the higher time frame so that we don't have to worry about the chart lagging as much. But I did want to show you guys the hourly chart because there is something interesting going on the hourly chart. I've talked about this before, but it's very important that we remember this, and that is this descending pennant right here. This falling wedge is not a wedge because it's closing in on itself, but whatever you want to call it, this consolidation pattern, that's certainly a consolidation pattern, is pointed downwards. Bitcoin was moving to the upside, and then now it has moved into this consolidation pattern, as I predicted a couple weeks ago that Bitcoin would do this, and it's been pointed down here towards that uptrend of support. Now, over the last 8 to 12 hours or so, Bitcoin has managed to get a small little bounce down here from levels of support at exactly $3,800. If we go ahead and we look at $3,800, we're going to see that that's a pretty strong level of support. Partially because it's a big even, it ends in 2 zeros. Of course, that's a thing we talk about in the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy, is big evens. But another reason that this is important is because it draws the center line through this previous pennant over here, this previous wedge, this consolidation pattern over here. And a lot of times, since there's a ton of trading going on right there, that's going to give you kind of a zone of support right here around $3,800. So watch out for $3,800 actually being a semi-strong level of support. Now, you're probably saying, well, Jeb, we're talking about bearishness in this video. Why are you showing me bullish things? Well, I have to show you both sides of the cake. I have to show you everything that's going on so you can make your own informed decision. And I do want to point out that Bitcoin has had a nice little bounce here over the last 12 hours or so. And of course, there is a decent chance that Bitcoin comes up here, breaks this downtrend of resistance, starts heading to the moon, and just blows up and starts blasting off like a rocket ship and goes into level 9 override massive monster truck rallying mode, or whatever you want to call it, like we said in yesterday's video. There is a potential that Bitcoin does that and that Bitcoin turns very bullish. Of course, there's always a chance that Bitcoin turns bullish when the technicals are pointing bearish, and there's of course always a chance that Bitcoin turns bearish when the technicals are pointing bullish. Just because the technicals say one thing does not always mean the market's going to do that, although technical analysis is by far and away the best predictor of markets, in my humble opinion anyway. But with all that said, Bitcoin is still in this pennant, and it is still pointed down here towards this uptrend of support that we're going to be talking about here in a little while. It seems to me that Bitcoin is going to fill out this pennant and move down here. I do think that's what's going to happen. I give that maybe a 55 to 60% chance that Bitcoin finishes out this pennant, and then we'll talk about what happens when it reaches this uptrend of support in just a second. But if Bitcoin does come down here, I want you guys to be very careful, because it doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin is going to break this uptrend of support. It doesn't necessarily mean that. There are two scenarios that can play out should Bitcoin come down here and go all the way down and touch this uptrend of support. And the two scenarios are rather obvious. Either one, Bitcoin bounces off of it and starts moving to the upside, and that diverges into the bullish scenario, which we're not discussing in today's video, but I do want to make very clear that there is a bullish argument. I'm not discounting that because I'm not talking about it in this video. There is a bullish argument, but that's not what we're here to discuss today. And then the second scenario is, of course, that Bitcoin breaks this uptrend of support and starts moving towards lower levels. So let's go ahead and talk about why that scenario might actually come to pass. There's not a whole lot more that we can look at on the hourly chart, so let's go ahead and move on out to the 4-hourly chart. Like I said, since my chart was lagging earlier and I don't want that to happen during the video, we're going to move out and kind of zoom out and get on to the bigger time frames. One of the things I want to point out on the 4-hourly is that we are currently bearish on the MACD. As you can see, the MACD line is below the signal line. It is curving in on itself as Bitcoin bounced in the last couple of hours, and the 4-hourly is a lot more responsive than the larger time scales like the daily chart, the weekly chart, and the monthly chart. So it's going to jump around a lot inside of trends. As you saw over here, when Bitcoin was rallying from the 7th of February up here to the 23rd of February, the MACD changed its orientation quite a lot, even though Bitcoin was bullish for pretty much that entire duration. So the 4-hourly MACD can give you a lot of false signals. Watch out for that. But at the moment anyway, it is bearish, so keep that in mind. Anyway, let's go ahead and move out to the daily chart, and that's where our TA is really going to get started. Out here on the daily chart, you're going to find that the Bitcoin daily MACD is bearish. It tried to cross bullish, as you can see, the histogram curved up here and went basically right on itself. The MACD line was almost exactly on top of the signal line. Of course, this is the MACD line right down here. This is the signal line right down here. If you guys want to learn more about MACD, hey, we got this video on here on the MACD. You know, I'm just saying, shameless self-promotion. Of course, I'm joking, but I'm also not. Anyway, this is the MACD line, and this is moving up here towards the signal line. As you can see, we almost saw a bullish cross here, but Bitcoin, being bearish over the last couple of days, has decided that no, we're not going to see a bullish cross, and Bitcoin's MACD line is actually going to bounce and reject off of it and move to the downside. We currently see bearishness on the MACD on the daily chart, and that could be indicative of further price action. Always watch out for the MACD. As I talk about in the course, and as I talk about in a lot of videos here on the channel, it is a very, very powerful indicator, partially because of the way it is structured, but also partially because of how many people use it. A lot of people use the MACD, and also, as I talk about in the course, the more people use a technical indicator, the stronger that technical indicator is going to be, because more people are making trades based off of it. So keep that in mind. One thing we also see is that you don't see as many false signals on the daily MACD as you do on the 4-hourly. As you can see from about the 7th of February all the way up to the 23rd of February, Bitcoin's MACD was very bullish, and Bitcoin was very bullish for all of that duration. Back over here, when Bitcoin was in a downtrend, Bitcoin's MACD was bearish for quite a lot of it. You don't get as many false signals on the daily MACD, but the daily MACD is slightly more of a lagging indicator. Keep that in mind. It will lag sometimes. As we can see right here, if we bring up our cross, we can see that the cross down here happened on the 28th of February when the all-time, well, not the all-time high, but the rally high back over here happened on the 23rd. So watch out for that. It's a bit of a lagging indicator on the daily chart. That's why you pair it with Heikin-Ashi. We also have a video on that. But anyway, guys, one more thing I wanted to talk about on the daily chart is that the stochastic RSI has just crossed and is starting to curve down on itself. This is a bad thing, because when stochastic RSI starts curving down, that's typically a momentum sign that Bitcoin is about to start moving to the downside, or that it has already started moving to the downside. You see this kind of thing happen a lot on the daily and especially on the weekly chart. We'll talk about the weekly chart in just a second. Watch out for all these technicals, guys. I know I'm throwing a lot of technicals at you, but I'm actually just throwing 2 or 3 technicals at you on different time frames. So watch out for all of them. It's important that you understand long-term technical analysis and short-term technical analysis. One thing I want to point out is that on the bullish case, Bitcoin is sitting on top of the 20 daily exponential moving average. That is a very, very important level of support. It's not the strongest level of support, but it's a good indicator. I've talked about this in many videos. If you guys have been subscribed to the channel since back in 2018, you'll know how much I talked about the 20 EMA back over here when it was a very good indicator of whether or not Bitcoin was in a rally or a downtrend. It's a very, very important indicator for telling you when Bitcoin is in a rally or a downtrend. I don't use it as much as a level of support, although as we can see right there, it does act as one sometimes. sometimes, but when you break below the 20 EMA, typically your downtrend has just actually started moving into full swing. And if Bitcoin moves down below and closes a daily candlestick below $3,800, that will be the beginning of a major downtrend based on the 20 EMA analysis that we've done and has worked for so very long. Anyway, that's what we wanted to discuss on the daily chart. Let's go out to the weekly chart, because there is some more stuff to look at on the weekly chart. As I've talked about, there are cases for the bulls, and right now the case for the bulls is also this. The MACD is very bullish, and I haven't seen a trend like that on the histogram in quite some time. That's a very powerful trend on the histogram, and one that should not be ignored. This is very bullish for Bitcoin. Now, as I've talked about in previous videos, I think that Bitcoin is going to be very bullish here for the next couple of months. So why am I showing you the bearish scenario? Well, I'm showing you the bearish scenario because there's a decent chance that it happens, but like I said, we'll talk percentages later on in the video. I do want to point out that on the weekly chart, Bitcoin's MACD is very bullish. And by the way, it's very bullish for the first time since Bitcoin hit all-time high in 2017. We haven't seen this kind of bullishness on the MACD in about a year and a half. Keep that in mind. It's a very strong bullish signal. You want to keep an eye on that. One thing you also want to keep an eye on, though, on the weekly chart would have to do, again, with the stochastic RSI. I did an entire video on this. If I remember, I'll link it in the top right. This is bad. The weekly stochastic RSI tends to be a very good, not necessarily predictor, sometimes it's a lagging indicator, but it typically correlates with a large crash in Bitcoin. If we bring up our cross here, we can see that just about every time, look at the cross, look at the chart, and then look at the stochastic RSI down here. I'll make it a little bigger for you. Look at the chart in the stochastic RSI. Just about every time the stochastic RSI crosses bearish, right around that time, we're seeing a crash in Bitcoin. There was a decent sized crash right there. It's not very visible on the weekly chart. Right over here, we saw a crash on Bitcoin. Right over there, right over there, right over there, right over there. Like clockwork, when you see a cross on the stochastic RSI on the weekly chart, it's a very powerful indicator. And we're going to see one next week. As you can see, it's already closing in on itself. We're almost certainly going to see a cross on the stochastic RSI. Now, like I mentioned in the Stoch RSI on the weekly chart video I talked about a while ago, there is a chance the stochastic RSI stays up here in overbought territory like it did back over here in November of 2016 and on into December of 2016. There is a chance that that happens and that this kind of crash in Bitcoin gets delayed and that Bitcoin stays in overbought territory on the Stoch RSI for quite some time and moves up here against levels of resistance. That is very possible. I'm not necessarily inclined to believe that that is what is most likely, though, so keep an eye out for that. There's not a whole lot I want to show you on the monthly chart. There is one thing on the monthly chart, and that is that stochastic RSI is on the floor, and that MACD is bearish right now. You can read into what those two mean. They aren't terribly important to what we're talking about here. We're talking about like mid to longer term levels of technical analysis, not very long investing term levels of technical analysis like you might be doing on the monthly chart. Anyway, with all of this TA out of the way, what's the point here? Why have I gone and showed you all these technical indicators? Why am I saying that Bitcoin's bearish, and what do I think is going to happen here? Well, the main reason I'm talking about this, and the main reason that this entire video was made, is because of this. We see that two very important levels of support are right next to each other. We see this uptrend of support, which is a short-term uptrend of support. That in and of itself would not be a big deal if we broke it, but it looks like that this uptrend of support is in danger. As well as that, the 200 weekly moving average right here is in danger. And that is an incredibly powerful and important level of support on Bitcoin. As we can see, the 200 weekly moving average has never been broken on Bitcoin. You guys know I've talked about this a lot, and I'm talking about it a lot, and I will not shy away from talking about it again because it's so very important. We do not want to see Bitcoin close weekly candlesticks below this. And if Bitcoin starts moving to the downside, and again, by the way, gets resistance on the 20 exponential and simple moving averages right here, if Bitcoin starts moving to the downside and breaks that, that is going to be a break of market structure. We have a video on market structure in here. It's right there. Very important concept, market structure. And when it's broken, it's typically a signal that something major is about to happen. Think about the last time major market structure was broken. It was the break of $6,000. Imagine what happened. Actually, you don't have to imagine. You can see what happened after we broke $6,000. I'm not necessarily saying that we're going to lose 50% of our valuation if we break the 200 EMA. We're about to talk about price targets, but keep in mind that there is a danger of Bitcoin breaking very long-term, very important market structure. And as I talk about in that market structure video right there, as I talk about in that video, when you break market structure, it is a very, very bad sign, or sometimes it's a very good sign, depending on if it's a bullish or a bearish break. But typically, it's a sign of a lot of change in the market, and it can sometimes be cataclysmic if it is a bearish break. Be careful of that. If Bitcoin comes down here and starts testing this 200 weekly moving average, I'm not trying to spread FUD. I'm not trying to make you guys scared. I'm not trying to make you go panic sell. I'm simply letting you know the severity of the potential for Bitcoin breaking below the 200 weekly moving average. Be very careful. It's a very important moving average. Now, with all that out of the way, Where would Bitcoin go if Bitcoin breaks the 200 weekly moving average? Is it going to go to a homeless shelter? Is it going to go abroad? Where is it going to go? Is it going to go to Barbados? Is it going to go to Mali? I don't know. Let's talk about where Bitcoin might go if it breaks the 200 weekly moving average. Maybe it'll go to Brooklyn or something. I don't know. We'll find out. Anyway, if Bitcoin breaks the 200 weekly moving average, here are the places that I expect Bitcoin to go. One of them is actually a different moving average that we don't talk about a lot on the channel, and I have to go ahead and set it up because we haven't been using it for this video. And I also have to go into another chart because it's such a long-term moving average. That would be the 400 weekly moving average right down here. I've seen people talk about the 300 weekly moving average. And the 300 weekly moving average might well also be important. That's showing up right around there somewhere. Watch out for support around that. But I think the 400 weekly moving average is going to be a little bit more important. Partially because a lot of times when you see moving averages get formed, you basically double the number that you use for the moving average prior to it. You have the 50 moving average, then the 100, then the 200. Logically, the next one in the series would be the 400. And the 400 is currently sitting down here around $1,776, of course, because it's very patriotic. Down here around $1,800 or so. There's going to be a strong level of support in between about $1,800 and $2,000 for Bitcoin. That's going to be a strong level of support. Part of the reason $1,800 is also going to be a strong level of support is because $1,800 was the bottom of a downtrend right back over here. By the way, I got into the market right over here, so this is kind of close to my heart right here. Right around here was where Bitcoin bottomed out around $1,800, and that just goes ahead and lines up almost perfectly with our level of support down here on the 400 weekly moving average. That is going to be a strong level of support should Bitcoin fall all the way down here. Do I think Bitcoin's going to fall all the way down to $3,600? Like I said, we'll talk about what I think later on in the video. I want to show you guys price targets. Another one is, of course, $3,000. Of course, $3,000 is a level of support, but I'll be totally honest with you guys. If Bitcoin breaks the 200 weekly moving average, closes a weekly candlestick below that, I see no scenarios where $3,000 holds. I mean, maybe there is. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe there's a chance that $3,000 holds and Bitcoin bounces off of that. I should say there is always a potential there, but I think that if Bitcoin breaks the 200, it's probably going to break 3,000 as well. Another price target I'd be looking at would be the previous all-time high for the previous bull market. That would be right around $1,200. Now, this is the absolute floor. I don't think Bitcoin is going down this low, so don't say that Jeb said Bitcoin was going to $1,200. I don't think that. I think Bitcoin is going to get caught somewhere between $1,800 and $2,400 or so. Somewhere in that region, I think, is where Bitcoin's going to get caught. After we start falling down there, more technical indicators will give us a better idea of where the proper bottom is, so we'll definitely be talking about that later on. So, now that we've gone through all the TA and I've shown you all the reasons that Bitcoin is in danger, all the levels of support, now that we've gone through all of this, what do I think? My name is Gloria Borger, but I'm going to give you my analysis anyway. Subscribe to PewDiePie, by the way. I'm trying to do my part. Anyway, what do I think here? If Bitcoin breaks the 200 weekly moving average, it's going to be bad. That's what I think. If Bitcoin breaks this moving average, I think it's probably going to come all the way down here to around $2,000, maybe even a little bit lower down to $1,800 and bottom out somewhere around there. I don't think Bitcoin's going to $1,000. I don't think Bitcoin's going to $1,500, but I think there's a decent chance that Bitcoin could come down here to $2,000. With that said, if Bitcoin goes that far, if Bitcoin crashes this far, that's not a bad thing. Guys, that would mean that Bitcoin crashed, what, close to 40%, 50%? That would actually, oh, excuse me, surprise burp attack. Oh my gosh. That would mean that Bitcoin would that would mean that Bitcoin will retrace about 50%. And when Bitcoin retraces about 50% like that, that would mean that you would have a much better time to be buying into Bitcoin for a longer term position. That would be a great place to be buying into Bitcoin. If you're thinking about buying a long-term position in Bitcoin, would you rather buy in at $4,000 or $2,000? I know what I'd answer that. If Bitcoin goes that far, I'm not going to be upset about it, but like I said, there is a decent chance that Bitcoin does it. I think that if Bitcoin breaks the 200 weekly moving average, we're going to break $3,000 and we're going to find support somewhere in between these two horizontal lines right here. Somewhere in here, we're going to find support. We'll talk about where exactly when we get a little closer to it. It's kind of hard to predict that this far out, but if we do break below the 200 weekly moving average, that is where I think we'll get support. With all that said, do I think we're going to break the 200 weekly moving average? Because we've done this entire video. I've talked about the 200 weekly moving average. You guys know my predictions on what's going to happen throughout the rest of the year. You know that I think a bull market is coming in the next 12 months. And you know that I said that I give that a 90 to 99% chance likelihood that a bull market is confirmed to have started in the next 12 months. So if I've made that prediction, surely I took into account Bitcoin going below $200, the 200 weekly moving average. Surely I thought about that, and of course I did. I think that if Bitcoin breaks the 200 weekly moving average, we're going to stay down here for a couple months, maybe 3-4 months, and we're going to bounce back. And we're going to bounce back in a bullish way, and Bitcoin will go and use that bearish movement and then bounce bullish and use that as momentum to start a bull market in the next 12 months. If Bitcoin doesn't go below there, I still think a bull market is coming in the next 12 months. The fundamentals are too good and the price is too low for that not to happen, in my opinion. With all that said, is Bitcoin going to break the 200 weekly moving average? I'd give it between a 30 and a 40% chance likelihood, maybe even like a 25 to 35% chance likelihood that Bitcoin breaks the 200 weekly moving average, and we see a very bullish, a very bearish scenario. Maybe bullish for the shorters, I guess. There is a decent chance that Bitcoin does that. Do I think it's what's most likely? No. I think what's most likely is that Bitcoin comes down here and bounces off of it and moves to the upside. Of course, that opinion may change depending on what happens in the next couple of days and on into the next couple of weeks. You have to be able to change your own beliefs about what's going to happen in the market in the light of new evidence. And I do that all the time, and I will never apologize for doing that because that's the way that you are supposed to do technical analysis properly. If you were able to change your opinion on a moment's notice with the light of new evidence, that is the sign of a good technical analyst, not the sign of a flip-flopper technical analyst. That is the sign of a good technical analyst when you can, at the drop of a hat, completely abandon your previous beliefs on the market and assume a new belief on the market with the light of new evidence. It's very important that you're able to do that. So I have no regrets in sometimes saying that I think one thing's going to happen and then the next day saying that something else is going to happen because in the interim, something new has come up. That's a very important lesson in technical analysis and a lesson that I think you guys should understand. Anyway, guys, that is going to be the end of this video. I'm now going to go ahead and talk about the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy because I want you guys to know that there is that support. I saw support here when I was watching, when I was looking at the support and resistance video, I guess. There is a promotion, a coupon code for the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy in the description down below, guys. That coupon code is CT2A March, I believe. Check the description for the exact one. It'll be in all caps. That is a 20% off coupon code for the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. Guys, like I said, I'm very happy with this product. I've been putting it together over the last 6 months or so. I poured my heart and soul into it, and I put a lot of what I know about technical analysis into this course. If you want to see the behind the scenes of where I learn about all this technical analysis, where I get all of this information, how I do my technical analysis. If you want to learn how to do technical analysis in the way that I do it, I'm by no means saying that I'm the best technical analyst in the world, but I do know what I'm talking about. And if you want to learn about what I have to teach, CT2A is the best way to do it. If you guys have been looking to learn about cryptocurrency, looking to learn about technical analysis in particular, this is a great place to do it. I think we have a very fair price. Everyone who's gone through the course has been satisfied with it. I've never had anyone like message me or email me cursing me out, being pissed off or trying to get a refund. I've never had that happen, guys. We've had hundreds of people go through the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. And like I mentioned earlier on in the video, if you click the link in the description down below and you scroll down on the sales page, you're going to see an FAQ. One of the last FAQs down there is the refund policy. The refund policy is within the first 14 days of purchase. If you've watched less than 30% of the course material, because I figure by then you ought to know whether or not you're going to enjoy the course and going to use the course. If you have any reason to refund the course at all, email me and I'll give you a refund. No questions asked. All you have to do is meet those 2 requirements. You haven't you bought the course in less than 14 days and that you've watched less than 30% of the course material. That's very clear on the FAQ. If you've done that, I will give you a refund, no questions asked. That has been the refund policy since day 1. We've had hundreds of people go through the course and not one person has ever had a refund. It's really been amazing. I love it. I'm very happy with this. We can see that we have videos down here. We have comments down here on market structure. Ted Carroll says, great video. Caesar says, great video. I'm not going to show those anymore because those are people that may not want to be on YouTube. But nevertheless, people are very happy with the course. I'm very happy with the course. And if you join the course, I have a feeling you're going to be very happy with the course as well. Anyway, guys, that coupon code is going to last through noon on Saturday. So you have some time to get into the course. But if you've been looking to learn about technical analysis, guys, not only will you be helping yourself to make a ton of money in the future because the investment that you make in this course is probably going to be the best investment you ever make in cryptocurrency because you're investing in yourself. As I talk about in the bio of myself on CT2A and as I talk about in some videos in here, the best investment you can make is not in any particular cryptocurrency, it's in yourself because your investments are not making investments. You're making the investments, and the better investments you make, the more money you're going to make. The things you learn in this course can easily make you that money back if you apply them. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching, but before we get into it, you know how in yesterday's video, all of you loyal viewers who watched to the end of the video, watched to this point in the video, I had you put the name of a bird in the comment section down below. Let's try this again. Let's put the name of Let's put the name of an animal from Africa. Let's put an African animal in the comment section down below. I really want to confuse people who didn't watch to the end of the video, because that was really funny in yesterday's video. I think I saw some people down there being like, why is everybody putting the name of a bird down here? This is really confusing. Let's put the name of an animal from Africa in the comment section down below. Anyway, guys, that is actually going to do it for today's video. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.